Orla, it is so good to have you here. Finally, we managed to get together.
How many times have we organised it and then rescheduled?
It's happening. We are here. You have been through the most amazing journey over the last 18 months. You should be so proud of yourself. I'm so proud of you. And I know that you are such an inspiration for so many people. The amount of people who, when I meet them or they message me, been like, "Are you the girl working with Orla?"
That's what you're saying.
No, it's not, but it's true. And the amount of people that when they do sign up and start working with me that say, "I saw you were working with Orla and it was enough to kind of give me the push to say, I can do it as well." So you've been an incredible inspiration to so many. I would love to know more about your kind of background, especially we'll start off maybe in your kind of early years. Like, what was your experience of fitness and sport? Because I get the impression you're from a really active, sporty family. So I'd love to know more about your kind of early experience of sport and health and fitness.
So definitely, like as a kid, I would have been doing loads of sports. So GAA, hockey, tennis, swimming. I was doing everything and anything. And then I think like a lot of girls, when you get to your teenage years, and I was doing basketball in school, everything. But then when you get to your teenage years, I don't know, is it self-confidence or I don't know what it is, but I pulled back a lot on it. Mm-hmm. And then as I kind of moved through my teens into my early 20s, I wasn't doing very much. And I could feel my body like slow down a bit. Mm-hmm. And so I would have then engaged the services of PTs and gyms. And it was counterproductive for me because it wasn't a positive, it was never a positive experience like it has been with you.
Yeah.
So
tell me about what that experience in those gyms and coaches was like.
So it was always so degrading. I always felt humiliated and embarrassed. I was always kind of, without anyone actually saying it, made to feel really bad for where I had like ended up, mm-hmm. like where I was at when I started. And it was like this massive hurdle to get back to fitness. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such a shame because I often think for a lot of people, the hardest part is starting.
Yeah.
And you were doing the start.
Yeah.
And it was that wasn't the biggest hurdle.
No.
Start like getting through the door of the gym wasn't the hardest part. It was what happened then.
Yeah.
So the obstacles were nearly being put in your way.
Yeah. And it would just turn me off so much. I hated the thought of going. I used to try and think of any excuse not to go because it was never encouraging. It was never empowering. It was always like, oh, they're going to just tell me how bad I'm doing. And they did. Like, they'd say, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You're not, It was never a good headspace for me. And then I would always be doing really extreme diets alongside that. So I never had the same energy. Like, I would be tired because I was eating way too little.
Yeah.
And then pushing myself. And it was always, the programs were always start off doing 4 or 5 days a week in the gym and only eat this tiny amount of food. And so it was bound to fail from the get-go. And then you do a cycle of that would fail, you feel really bad, I turned then to food as a way of like coping, and I binge, and it was just a whole big cycle of binge and restrict then.
Yeah.
And then that lasted all through my 20s until I got pregnant, and then that's where I was at the end of all my pregnancies.
Yeah. And your pregnancies were not kind of straightforward.
No.
Pregnancies, you were so ill through them.
Yeah, and again, that was a form of restriction. So I was vomiting constantly. I couldn't eat anything. I lost maybe 20 kilos on some of the pregnancies. It's like...
So like extreme hypernemesis.
Yeah. So then when I would come out the other side of a pregnancy and I could eat again, I would completely binge, which would, that's a normal psychological thing after you've had hyperemesis.
Okay.
But
your body is in such a state of depletion. So regardless of the hyperemesis, the delivery, the breastfeeding, the sleeplessness, like all of these things that you have,
your body is going to basically force you and trick you into just consuming as much as it can, because it is so energy deprived.
Yeah.
You are up against so many different factors that your body is going, calories, eat. And it is so hard to step out of that. I would actually say almost impossible at that stage to step out and say, and that's why we always say, especially to our postnatal mums, focus on eating the good stuff. If some of the bad stuff comes in, it doesn't matter, but I want you like front loading your day. I want you having like really nutritious smoothies, a really healthy breakfast, which I know is really hard to do when you have a new baby, especially when you have 3 other children. I totally get it. But I really, really find that people have much more success if they are not in that state of like a calorie deficit while the rest of their life is so stressful and their body is in a state of depletion. So it is just filling in with the good stuff. And then if the treats and stuff happen, it doesn't matter. Your body is getting everything it needs. And I think that sets you up then for a much more kinder, if weight loss is your goal, I suppose, in time postnatally, it sets you up for a much nicer experience going into that.
And I think after my pregnancy, psychologically, I was so vulnerable. I was not in a good place. And so the food that I could suddenly eat and enjoy again was a huge comfort. And so instead of saying, okay, have the nice things that you weren't able to eat for 9 months, but also eat lots of nutritious things that are going to fill you up, I just ate everything. So, I mean, I had jars, while I was breastfeeding, I had jars of peanut M&Ms underneath my bed, and I would just sit and eat them all day. Like, I would go through massive jars of them because it was so tasty, and it was just madness. I had no control or sense of what I needed to do. I had no direction, and I had come from a very vulnerable place during the pregnancy. So I was, I suppose, in my own head taking care of myself, but it wasn't what I needed.
Well, it was doing what you needed to do at that time. And it is, I really think it's so important for people to know that there's a season for everything.
Oh, I 100% believe that.
Like, I even just hate the term like super mom or super woman because it places like such expectations on us. It's like, I am just a normal woman, like doing her best, and if there is space in my life at the moment to kind of reprioritize myself or put myself higher up on the priority list, amazing, but that doesn't come all the time. And even for me, like, it's my job. It's literally my job is to be fit, to try and be a role model, to inspire people. I can't be this person all the time. It just doesn't happen. And it's like, there are times when I'm just kind of coasting along and I might be doing short little workouts at home or like focusing on my walks. And then there's times when I'm going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week and like loving training. But it is, for every single person on this planet, there is a season for everything. And that's not just fitness, that's whatever your goals be at work, parenting, health and wellness, whatever it might be. You messaged me on the 4th of November 2021.
I'm still so embarrassed that I messaged you at like 11 o'clock at night.
That's when most people message me. Or like 2 a.m. when they're feeding babies. It's like...
I know, but...
It's great. I would love you to kind of tell me a little bit more about where Orla was sending that message.
I actually can't even remember sending it. It was like my body was separate to my mind, and I just sent the message. I think I knew inherently that I needed help and I wasn't going to be able to do it on my own. I had, and I'm not trying to like demonize any type of body shape or size, but I had gained a huge amount of weight since I had my youngest and whilst the boys were diagnosed, and I was at rock bottom, so far down the priority list. I didn't actually see any way out of it, and I was like, I need to actually hand this over to someone else. I need to trust somebody else, and I knew you, and I had done a class before with you, and I just said, I trust her, I know she will look after me, and I needed to hand it off. Sometimes you actually don't have the resources to look after yourself, so sometimes you have to like outsource that. And I knew if I handed it off to you that I would be minded and you would support me along the way without being mean.
Being an asshole doesn't work, guys, just in case anyone's wondering.
Not for me anyway.
I remember you messaging me, and the interesting thing is, obviously fitness and the fitness industry is a majorly male dominated space.
Yes.
It's very, very hard as a woman, and it's very hard as a mom to stay relevant, to be listened to by the males that I need to run my business. So if I'm going into gyms, then like, look, I do this, and they're like, oh, it's these pelvic floor classes, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And it's really hard, really hard. The week before you messaged me, I had gone and done a course, and I had a terrible experience on it, like really bad.
Okay.
And I came out of that, and I was like 3-month-old twins, had this rubbish experience on a course, and I remember just being like, God, like, am I relevant? Can I actually make a difference? Is there space for me in this industry? Like, how can I fit in? How can I continue with what I'm doing? Like, the odds were really stacked against me. And then your message came in, and I was like, okay, let's try this, get back into some in-person training and coaching, and kind of see how it goes. So you were in a really vulnerable space, but I was in a really vulnerable space as well.
And it's mad to me to hear that. I've never heard that story.
Yeah.
And it's mental to me because genuinely you've changed my life. I can't start crying this early on, but genuinely you have changed my life. I wouldn't have been able to get to this point without you, your help, your guidance, your support. So it's so, isn't it, like, you just don't know what the other, like, you were such an inspiration to me. Like, I was so, this woman has it together, she knows what she's doing. But isn't it amazing? We're all just totally faking it until we make it.
100%. So you say that I've changed your life and been such an inspiration, but you've changed my life and been an inspiration to me, and you've allowed me and given me the space to be the mum of 3 with the newborn twins, to be like, look, or I can't do today, or I'm going to have one of the twins in the session today, or like, you gave me the kind of flexibility to kind of do what I had to do as well. So it really was a very symbiotic thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting as well for people to know that our paths have actually crossed quite a few times without us even knowing.
I know. So I had my third when you were having your first, in the room next to each other.
And the same midwife delivered the
Same
2
midwife.
boys, like within a few hours of each other.
Yeah.
So she delivered Jacob, and then a few hours later she delivered Eli. And then we bumped into each other on the gentle birth support group.
Yes, I think that's how I started
and you were like,
following
oh my God, I think Roisin delivered mine afterwards.
And I was like,
And then I remember scrolling, I wasn't following you on Instagram, I remember scrolling and being like, oh, there was a picture of Eli, and he was in the little Moses basket in the kind of cheese swaddle. And I was like, oh my God, that's an amazing photo. And I was like, Eli, same birthday as Jacob. I was like, I think this is that woman.
Mad. And I just always remember, because we had to share the same midwife, and she kept leaving my room, and she's like, my other lady is just delivering now, and I was like, come back, but it was you.
It was me. And then as well, we discovered that we were both in Senior College Dunleary in beauty therapy together.
In the same year.
I know.
Just in a different class.
So funny.
It was
so funny. So our paths have crossed a couple of times. I think this was just meant to be.
It was meant.
The universe brought us back together. Do you remember any like particular turning point that you were like, okay, I need to outsource this, I need to get a coach, I'm not feeling good in my body, I'm physically, I know you've said to me, not able to kind of run around after the kids and do the things that I want to do? Is there any particular kind of moment that you were like, right, this, I just can't do this? Or was it kind of an accumulation of things? Or
I had been trying to very gently, whilst also not triggering myself too much, to lose a bit of weight and get fit myself the year previous to meeting you. But it wasn't going anywhere, really. I was just kind of stuck in the same cycle. And I was also in a place that I was, very shortly after the boys were diagnosed, trying to really care for myself as well. So I went to get my eyes tested because I needed to be able to do crocheting because it was the only thing that would calm me down.
Okay.
And when I was there, they said, oh, you can see something on the eye scans. We're going to send you to the eye and ear hospital. So I went in and they said, you have a buildup of pressure behind your eye. It's this condition called IIH, and it typically happens in childbearing women who are very overweight. And I was like, oh, okay. And they were like, you're going to have to lose 10% of your body weight. Otherwise, you're going to have to go on this strong medication, which they put me on. And it gave me all types of really horrible symptoms. And
Side effects.
so I just, at that point, up until then, my health on paper, like my bloods were all fine. My blood pressure was fine. So I could kind of convince myself that I was fine. You know, like I was, on paper, I was fine. But I wasn't moving. I wasn't able to move. I was out of breath walking up the stairs. I couldn't lift any of the kids up the stairs because I was already so out of breath. So when I had gotten that diagnosis, I couldn't really hide from the fact that it was impacting my health.
Yeah.
So I knew then that I needed to do something. And
Okay.
that's, I think, was probably, that happened maybe a month before I contacted you. So I think that was kind of
The
all
turning
tied up.
point.
Yeah.
That's I've never heard that. That's so interesting. And for anyone else that that might be in a similar situation to that, who is feeling not even necessarily like their body is a larger size or anything like that, but someone who's really feeling like, I don't feel well. I don't feel like I'm living my life to its fullest because of my, you know, maybe physical incapabilities or my confidence or things, anything like that, I suppose. And that's one thing that I would always say, like, people often say to me, like, how do you stay motivated? And my thing is, if I don't train regularly, and that's not crazy training sessions, if I don't move regularly and if I don't eat relatively well, I don't have a super clean diet, but if I don't eat relatively well and sleep as well as I possibly can with 3 small kids, I don't feel well. I feel literally unwell in my body. What would you say to someone who is feeling like that and wants to get started but doesn't really know what steps to take?
I would say the mistakes I've made in the past were trying to take on way too much all at one time. It's just such a recipe for disaster. Too extreme a calorie deficit, too many training sessions, like cutting out all your favorite foods that make your life just so miserable when you don't have them all. So I would say do little steps and just bring them in gradually. So if your first step is just drinking more water, I was chronically dehydrated. I drank no water.
Okay.
So I only drank like a cup, maybe 2 cups of tea a day and a sip of water with dinner. So like you can imagine how dehydrated I was. So drinking more water. I would say the next step is, instead of taking loads of things out of your diet and restricting, add things in. Protein at every meal. That was the biggest turning point for me, because I was so full all the time. If you put protein into every meal and every snack, you don't have any space left, because it was the first time I felt real fullness without having to like eat this massive volume.
Protein is like a super macro, and it's something that I think a lot of women are afraid to eat too much protein because they're like, oh, like I don't want to get bulky, and like I don't want to be like a bodybuilder or anything. Do you know, that's what I met as a coach with a lot, you know, and it's like, okay guys, like the benefits of eating protein are, you know, it's going to help us build our muscle, and it's going to help our bodies recover after our training sessions. It's going to help to it has a more satiating effect. So it's kind of like a natural appetite suppressant. It has a host of vitamins and minerals in it that we need to support our system. There's something else really important that it does that I can't remember now.
I can't think.
We'll come back to that. But protein is essentially like a super. So when we eat protein, it actually takes more energy for our body to break down protein than it does carbs or fats. So, and then once we start to build that muscle mass, we are a metabolically healthier person the more muscle we have on our bodies. So our bodies are burning more calories at rest. Like when you have more muscle on your body, you are burning more calories. Like that's the only reason to gain more muscle. It's amazing. It is so good for our immune systems.
Yeah.
It supports our bones and our joints. It supports our pelvic floor. Like, having muscle on our bodies is the most important, especially for women, important things that we can do for our current health, but our longevity as well. When we reach the age of 80, our muscle mass depletes by 50%.
Oh, so depressing.
But the more that we have going in,
the better.
The more we're going to lose less. And we're going to be in those habits of maintaining muscle mass. So, like, I fully plan to be still deadlifting and squatting and lifting weights when I am 80 years of age, and be like holding on to those muscle fibers for dear
every
life.
last one. And I think I said that to you, that in the last 18 months, since I started eating more protein and working out, I haven't been sick.
I know.
Like,
I know.
and I was sick every second week before because I just didn't have.
Yeah, and isn't it amazing? Because a lot of people, and I know being able to hire a personal trainer or do a program is a luxury. It is not something that everybody can do, but you will probably save money on your medical bills.
Oh yeah.
And it's incredible. I haven't actually been to a doctor outside of having the twins, and probably Jacob, in about 6 or 7 years, if not more.
I know.
Like, going to a doctor is bloody expensive these days, if you can get an appointment.
If you can.
So it is amazing. Like, it's not that you save money, but you're just spending your money on a much nicer thing.
And even before I started with you, another thing, I was walking the kids to and from school, and halfway through the walk, my arches and my feet would fall, and I had the most excruciating pain.
Yeah.
So for the rest of the day, I wouldn't be able to do anything. And I went to a foot specialist, and they gave me insoles and everything. But, you know, her advice was very gently, you know, if you relieve some of the pressure on your feet, so some of the weight you're carrying, this won't be as much of a problem. And it was really expensive to go to this foot specialist.
Yeah,
to get,
probably like €300 insoles.
Insoles and everything.
Do you still wear them?
I do, because they're great. But
she's getting her money's worth.
I'm wearing them down. But like that, I haven't been to the doctor in 1.5 years. Mm-hmm. I don't need to go buy medications, buy anything, because I do feel so much healthier, and I'm in a different space. So you do save money for sure.
Okay. This is a tricky one, because I know that me and you feel very, very strongly about what body positivity is.
Yeah.
And we are very passionate that everybody is important. Everybody is worthy, and everybody needs to be listened to, regardless of their body size, their ability, their body's abilities. But has your feeling of body positivity changed in the last 18 months?
Yes. It's a very tricky question to answer. Because I think I have touched on this with you before, that I feel like there's a little bit of a rhetoric that if you're body positive, you can't want to change your own body.
Yeah.
And I found that really difficult, because I don't look at who I was 1.5 years ago and be like, look, you know, somebody asked me in the question box, how do you deal with feelings of like shame and embarrassment about the weight, your starting weight? I don't look at her and think the state of her, like she let herself go. I think that was where I was at, and it was a moment in time, and she was worthy and all of that. But I think now I feel much more body positive, and I was kind to my body then. I wasn't like,
you were so compassionate.
Yeah, I wasn't saying, oh.
And I think as well, because we talked a lot about this, especially at the start, it's like talking to yourself like you would to your best friend or to Isla. Like, you know, it is that it's so important that we are constantly checking in on what that inner voice and that inner critic is saying. And when that inner voice and inner critic is saying things like, I know even me, it's like, God, you should be doing more, and you know, you should be spending more time with the kids, you should be spending more time working, do you know, like the guilt of taking the time for yourself, all of that. It's not shut up, like that stupid inner voice, you know, feck off or whatever. It's okay.
Yeah.
I see you and I can hear you, and you're safe and you are doing your best.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect.
No.
But everything that you are doing is enough.
Yeah.
And that's all that we can do. And it's meeting that inner critic with kindness and compassion rather than a big F you.
Yeah. And I think when I started with you, I don't even think I once said I want to lose weight. I think I said I want to get strong.
Yeah.
Because it had to be about how I felt and not how I looked.
Yeah.
Of course, it would be a lie to say that I don't feel way better. I don't have more confidence now.
Yeah.
Of course I do, because my body looks, I suppose, the way that I feel.
Yeah,
that makes
totally,
sense.
totally.
But I didn't. I wanted it to be about how my body felt. Can I run upstairs with 2 kids, one on each hip? Can I run down the road? Can I like lift the shopping in without dying and my arms falling off? Can I walk the kids to school without my feet being in pain?
Yeah.
You know, like it was about all of those things, and that's how I went into it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the part that I was being positive, like body positive from, you know, I was being kind.
Yeah, it was about strengthening your body to strengthen your life.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember at the time, so we talked about this a lot, and you saying like, I just want to get stronger. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to do strength training. We're going to get you out walking a couple of times a week, like just gentle short walks, like meet a friend and, you know, make all that really enjoyable. And again, it was just a little bit about removing you from the house as well, and just getting you out and about again. And we're going to eat protein. And I was like, you know, weight loss might just happen as a result of doing all of this, Orlaith, just an FYI. Like, but it was never our goal.
No, it was never what we went
It wasn't what we set out to do or what you set out to do.
Yeah, which was very different than any other trainer I've had, because it was always, and we never talked, certainly for the first couple of months, we never talked about food.
No.
Other than,
it was like literally, are you drinking water?
And are you eating enough?
Yeah.
Are you taking enough protein
And
in?
I think I was like, make sure that you have like a smoothie or like a salad, and it was just getting those micros in, because you were, even though you were overweight, you were chronically depleted.
Yeah, we talked a lot about
you were like malnourished, I would say.
Yeah, malnourished, full of peanut M&Ms.
And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know, because I remember even you saying your hair quality has improved, your skin has improved, like all of that, do you know, and it's something that I see very often as well, so it's just amazing. Before we have a look at the questions, my final question is, how has your life opened up? Because I remember even like just starting to see you on Instagram, like I'd be at home and she'd like, yes, she's gone to an event, or yes, she's on a plane, or like all of these things. It was just like, it just seemed from the outside looking in that it was just like a flower bud opening.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like that. I think when you start looking after yourself, you realize that you deserve so much more than what you were giving yourself before. And I actually was thinking about this in the car on the way over. I was saying, you were a really good role model for that, because beforehand I thought the only way to be a good mum was to martyr myself to the kids, never put myself on the priority list. And that was the only way I could prove to everyone that I loved my kids more than anything. And then I met you and I was like, this woman loves her kids to the moon and back, like every other mother, but she also loves her, like she knows how to like be kind to herself and look after herself. And it was so empowering, because I actually think a lot of us need to have more women around us who are looking after themselves, because it gives you permission. Like, I think there's a huge rhetoric that the only way to be a good mom is to like chain yourself to the house and to your kids. It's just so far from the truth. I am a much better mother now that I have taken back a part of myself. I was constantly overtired, overworked, overstimulated, irritated. I was not enjoying motherhood
the way that you are
the way that I am now. Like I actually really enjoy just hanging out with my kids. Like really enjoy it.
For it.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing for Isla to see as well? In particular, I think for mums of daughters, you know, it's a worry, the world that they're growing up in, and the language that's used and the messaging that's there But I like just love, like for sons as well, but for daughters, to see their moms training at home, to see their moms going out and, you know, hanging out with their mates, and because that's going to be normal now for Isla. She's going to say, like, you know, well, it's just going to be how mothering is done. Mom is at home, she's an amazing mom, she also goes out and does her thing, whatever that might look like. And like, what an incredible role model.
Like, she doesn't need the permission to do it when she's
a
grown up. She'll just know that that's totally fine to do it.
That's totally fine. No, it's just incredible what you've done. It's been just such a pleasure to watch your life open up. It's been so much more than weight loss, so much more than that. It's just been such a privilege to be your coach.
Oh my God, stop.
No, but it has been.
No,
it's honestly been probably one of my career highlights.
Don't make me cry.
I swear to God, it has. So thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any questions that you got in the questions box that we might not have covered? Because we want to make sure that everybody gets what they're here for.
Okay, so let me see.
There's only about 150 of them.
There was a few that were the same. There was a lot about how to let go of the guilt to take the time.
Okay.
So I was thinking about this on the way over as well. I definitely felt guilty for the first 2 or 3 months, even though I was doing one PT session initially with you at 6 a.m. in the morning. Like, I was still back to bring the kids to school. Like, not that there'd be anything wrong if you weren't back and somebody else was bringing the kids to school, but I mean, I felt so much guilt. And so I faked it. I didn't think about it, and I just did it for the first 2 or 3 months. And then the guilt just fell away. And when the guilt fell away, then I started doing 2 days a week with you. And then I started saying, okay, I can do the 2 days a week, and I can go with my friends for like a meal out. And then it just slowly became so normal to me again, and realizing that I didn't need to feel guilty for stepping away and looking after myself. And I definitely thought as well about how initially, you know, if you only are giving yourself that 1 hour, the 2 hours a week to yourself to say work out, sometimes you can feel like, oh, but I prefer to be doing something else than working out. So you have to allow yourself lots of extra, you know, you have to allow yourself time to do workouts, but also time to meet friends
or time to get into bed and read your book. It doesn't all have to be like go.
Exactly. But
you know, it's the permission piece, isn't it?
Yeah.
And nobody is ever going to give us permission. No one's going to say, oh God, Orla, you haven't been out of the house in a month. Would you like to go out? You know, because everyone is so wrapped up in their own world and their own things and things that need to be done. And it's kind of just stepping back and going, okay, guys, I'm taking a moment. You know? You really do have to take it.
And as part of that, I think you have to learn, if you are privileged to have support around you, friends and family, you have to learn how to ask. Because again, I hated asking people. And then I was like, well, the only way this is going to be possible is if I ask people. If I ask, like, my parents to pick up the kids, or, you know, whatever it may be. And if you have that, I definitely say ask. People
tap into that resource.
People
are thrilled to help.
They really are. And I think people are thrilled when they see you getting some space. People who love you, who really love you, will be happy.
Absolutely. I love that.
How do I eat all the yummy things that I bake for, or is it just for the kids? I eat all the yummy things. I think the difference is that I don't eat all of the yummy things. So whereas before, say if I used to bake all the time. So I used to make like a batch of cookies, and I would make the entire batch of 22 cookies, and I'd eat like half of it. Whereas now I make cookie dough, I roll it into a log, I put it into the freezer, and when I want a cookie, I have the best goddamn cookie ever. And I cut whatever the portion is, I put it in the oven, and I say, like, I have a cup of tea and I savor it. Whereas before, what I was doing was just like eating mindlessly all the time.
And probably not even enjoying.
No, I actually wasn't, because I was still I'd say, oh, I'll have one cookie because that's all I can have. And then I'd eat this one cookie, and then of course that wasn't enough. So I'd have like 3 more, and then I'd finish the whole pack, and then I'd be like, maybe I'll have some crisps now because I'm still hungry. It was all just, it was this big cycle, and so now I don't feel any guilt. I have a delicious, huge, warm chocolate chip cookie, and then I move on with my day.
Yeah.
And I think for me anyway, I know it'll be different for everyone, but if you restrict yourself to not having the nice things, it's never going to be maintainable long term.
No.
Because life is about having nice things as well.
Absolutely. It's something that I don't struggle with, but something that I notice a lot in like working with clients who are new to working with me, and they're like, "Can I have a food plan?" I'm like, "No, we don't do food plans. What's the point of me telling you what to eat when you're going to look at this and probably do it for a week and then be like, I don't like any of this food, feck that."
Yeah.
Or them saying things like, "Oh God, like, you know, I had a cookie last night and like so bad." I'm like, that's not bad. That's okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it is, you know, taking those labels off food. It's just food.
Yeah.
It's just food. And I do think the tracking on MyFitnessPal as an educational tool is very, very powerful, because you don't even realize what's in those cookies, or what's in the chicken breast, or what's in the whatever it is that you're eating, to know like, oh my God, that's like 20 grams of protein and really low in fat. That's, you know, 20 grams of fat and there's no protein in it.
Yeah.
You can have both, but it's just balancing it all out.
This is, and I find, and I've said this to you before, I can sometimes find MyFitnessPal triggering for me. Like, I get really obsessive. So what I have done is, you've said use it as a tool for a day or two, and then delete it from your phone.
Just remind yourself.
And it is, I like, one of the biggest mistakes I was doing was like free pouring olive oil on everything. Like, I love olive oil, I think it's great, totally have it, but like I was like, well, there's only potatoes there, like, as I covered the whole thing in olive oil. I think as well, it actually just makes me really think about, it doesn't stop me eating the things I want to eat.
I think it actually helps people eat the things that they want to eat.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I have this crave, that I have this, it's like my go-to at the moment. It's these ice cream sandwiches from Dunnes.
Oh, I'd love an ice cream sandwich.
But they're dense little babies. Like, they're so satisfying. And they're 150 calories.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is like, it feels like dessert. it's not a diet food or anything like that. But it can totally fit into my daily plan.
Yeah.
And I can still do that whilst losing weight or maintaining my weight or whatever. It's just, I do think it's a really good tool. I think using it for a day or two, for a week, whatever works for you, and seeing what is it like.
And most people actually only kind of choose between about 50 different foods. So we always go for the same thing. Yeah. You know, so it's quite easy to kind of learn, okay, this is what's in an apple, this is what's in a pot of yogurt, this is, so you're literally educating yourself on your own food choices. Yeah. To know then how to fit them into your day. Yeah. And I actually think it's so empowering.
So empowering. And I also think that anytime I've ever done diets in the past, which I don't do now, but it was always, you can only eat 1,400 calories, which was just never.
It's just a recipe for failure.
Like, I mean, I don't know, it's the amount of calories I eat now, and that's still in a deficit, and I never hit that amount because I'm always so full. Yeah. And that's really empowering to know that I can eat way more than that, because who can eat that? You can't even go for one meal out a month if you're only eating 1,400 calories.
No, and again, as a coach who predominantly works with women, and women who don't have a huge knowledge of, I suppose, knowledge of how to fuel their bodies properly. Yeah. When I give them their calories and I say, this is what we're going to start on, they're like, I think that's like 2,200. Is that meant to be 1,200? I'm like, no, 2,200. You're still in a deficit. Off you go. And they're like, this one hasn't a clue what she's talking about.
I think I said that to you when I was like,
everybody says it.
I'm like, Emma, are you sure that's still a deficit? You're like, yeah. Okay.
Just stick to that for a couple of weeks. We'll see what happens. And then.
And when I did that, I actually could never reach the 2,200 calories because I was so full.
Yeah.
Like I was literally trying to, and
Yeah.
that's such a change from feeling like you're depriving yourself or you're restricting yourself.
And if you are coming in a little bit under, it's okay. Again, if people who are like, oh, I feel like I'm force feeding myself. Okay, we're not going to do that.
No, I know.
But like, let's just kind of listen to our bodies. But like, 2,200 is in and around where you need to be.
Yeah. Okay, so another question is this is a repeat question, how do I find the time? So this is a really tricky one because it's going to be so different for everyone. We don't all have the same 24 hours in the day. I don't have the same 24 hours as a mother who is working outside the home, has 3 kids, like whose partner works long hours, who doesn't have any family support for childcare. That she does not have the same amount of hours as I have.
Yeah.
Equally, I don't have the same amount of hours as someone who has 2 kids who are in school and is a stay-at-home mom. Like everybody has different
scenario
hours.
is different.
So how do I find the time? Well, one of the biggest things I did was my priority list was the kids, Tim, the house, and then all the way down to the bottom of me. So what I did was I switched it up so the kids are still obviously the priority. Then I put myself in because what I recognized is that Tim is a grown adult and if he needs something, he can come and say, I need to go for a run. I'll be like, cool, you go for a run. I'll go for a run later. I don't have to, he's not a child. I don't have to put him above me. He's obviously a priority in my life, but
he's a grown ass man.
Yeah. Let's just say he comes like equal to me, but he's his own problem.
Yeah.
And then the house has to come after that, of course. And this was a big shift for me because I'm very house proud. I still like the place organized and tidy and clean. But it can't come above me and my health and my life. It just can't. No. So there are days that I have to come to training and shock horror. Not every inch of the house is clean and tidy. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Especially when it's going to be trashed in about 3 hours time.
Especially when they come home and they pee all over the toilet and still got to
throw a box of Lego all over the place.
And there's crushed crackers in the sofa. But yeah, switching that up. I suppose if you, again, like I am privileged, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so now that all 4 of them are in preschool or school, I can work out and do the classes during that gap. Whereas before I had to fit it in like at 6 a.m. I used to come do PT at 6 a.m. or I'd have to do it in the evening.
Which is tough.
It's really
tough.
Like, no question about it. I also think, and we've discussed this before, I mean, realistically, if you have very small kids who aren't sleeping, this is going to be such an uphill battle. I feel like it was so much more doable for me when my youngest was 3.
Yeah.
And being okay with that is really important. Giving yourself like compassion and knowing that if you have a newborn, it might just not be possible.
Yeah, it might not be the time. There's a season for everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know? I find as well especially with the online program, I make sure that the workouts are short because all of my clients are busy women, whether they're mothers or not. Women, I always say, are the glue of our society. We are the minders. We are minding children. We are minding parents. We are minding friends. We are minding siblings. We are minding our homes, sometimes other people's homes.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the time it comes back on us.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for us to find the time and to say, look, I'm going to just have to say no to you right now.
Yes.
Because I have to say yes to me, but that will give me more capacity to say yes to you in future. The ripple effect of a well-minded woman to our kids, to our communities is, I think, massive.
Yeah.
Massive. And it was one of the biggest drivers for me actually starting my retreats. I started them in COVID and I was doing a lot of check-ins with women at the time who were in my programs, like checking in with them every week. And it was honestly fucking frightening what women were going through then. Like, everything came back onto us between schooling, work, entertaining the kids, minding parents, dropping groceries into elderly neighbours. Like, it was huge. Also, a lot of us are teachers and nurses and, these frontline workers, people working in supermarkets, all of that. Like, they were at the forefront of it and they were so depleted. They had nothing left.
No.
And that was when the initial idea was like, I honestly was like, I just want to take you all away and just literally mind you for 24 hours and just be like, look, you deserve this. Do you know, and again, it's obviously, it's so privileged to be able to come on something like that.
Yeah.
I even said on my last retreat, I was like, if you ever have a friend or anything that you are like, she needs this but can't afford it, like, just tell me, like, I will make it happen. I just think it's so important for women to band together and
to be each other's support. Yeah.
And sometimes they just need to be taken away, just to be like, look, just give yourself 24 hours. Like, it's nothing.
I know.
Nothing.
I know.
Yeah.
And I also find if you're finding it hard to find the time, there has been like weeks where we've had loads of hospital appointments and there's loads going on, and I just can't like set myself up for half an hour, 40 minutes to do one of the online workouts, and I'll do your snack workouts.
Yeah.
And then oftentimes after I've done 10 minutes, I'm like, actually, I do have another 10 minutes, and then I'll just do another one.
Or just double the time. That's why I program the warm-ups the way I do as well.
Yeah.
My warm-ups are very sweaty.
And I hate them.
But they are kind of 10 minutes, and as I say often in the videos, I'm like, guys, if this is all you get to do today, you've done a really great workout.
Yeah.
Like, it's 10 minutes. Do you know, if you
full body, like,
yeah, everything is full body because
sweating. Yeah, it's sometimes a little bit too much cardio for me. You know how much I hate the cardio. I'm trying to see what other questions.
We've probably time for maybe one more.
One more, I'd say.
Yeah.
We have to go train.
We have to go do some pull-ups and some deadlifts.
So just trying to see. Starting. This is probably for you. Starting with zero strength. Can I start at home?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I have my beginners program, which a lot of it is body weight, but you can even do it like holding water bottles, so you're not having to make that kind of investment in equipment and all of that if you're just getting started, because all of these things are barriers.
Yeah.
All of these, okay, like I'm gonna have to buy this program, which is a very low entry cost for that reason. I'm gonna have to get the equipment and all that. So it is simple, short workouts that can be done at home that are really made for somebody who is never trained before or is coming back after some time off. But strength training and getting muscle on your body is just so key. It will be way more supportive of your kind of overall health than, say, like going for a run, and I would say way more enjoyable. So
100%.
Go for a 20-minute run or do like a short 20-minute body weight strength training session at home.
But I think as well, for me, like from the perspective I was at, I was 5 stone heavier, so to go for a run was going to be hell for me, and I wasn't going to
your feet and everything.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get anywhere running because I was going to be exhausted but not having actually built any muscle. Whereas now I've lost weight and I'm stronger, and now I actually enjoy running in the gym. Like it feels like a big empowering step.
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah,
it's huge. So yeah, strength training, if you've never done it before, is absolutely like probably the best place that you can start strength training and doing low intensity cardio, meeting your pal for a walk or going for a swim, or it's important you're enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah. 2 really quick questions. One was, did I have an aha moment? I can't specifically remember, but I do remember being in here and crying one day for something I had done. I think it might have been push-ups. Like that was a big moment that I was like, oh my God.
Oh, it was.
I can do
that.
this.
Yeah.
I'm actually, and now doing pull-ups every time I'm doing like another little bit further, I'm like, don't cry. There's so many people here in the gym, but that's how I feel. Like when you can start doing things with your body that you never could before, it's the most incredible feeling.
Yeah.
And then the other question was, how do you manage setbacks? And honestly,
I love that.
I just put them behind me. Like I don't, whereas before I'd be like, okay, well, I ate that whole tub of ice cream, might as well just do nothing now and eat 4 bags of crisps. Or I didn't train for a week. Well, I've undone everything. But now I'm like, last week I couldn't train because I had appointments or the kids were sick or we didn't sleep well. What you needed last week was mine. You needed to sleep and rest. Don't worry, this week let's just try and move a little bit more. Let's try and get in a little snack workout. Don't try and punish yourself for what you didn't do or what you did do previously.
I love that.
Just like, so if I eat,
Just start again.
yeah, so it was interesting, like I went for a meal out with my family recently and it was like loads of food, and the next day I was like, that mindset creeps in where you're like, oh god, I ate too much, I shouldn't have eaten that much. And my old mindset would have been to go and do like really heavy workouts, like go and like kill yourself. And I was like, no, I just had it. Now I'm going to move on. I'm going to eat normally today. I'm not going to restrict. I'm going to do a nice workout that is within my capabilities today. And I'm just going to move on with my life.
Yeah.
And it's the way that it has stayed consistent for me.
Yeah.
Because it's never like that was a failure.
There's no punishment.
There's no punishment. Just that was what it was. Maybe that week I'm not going to lose any weight, or I might, but maybe I won't lose any weight that week. I've had to become really okay with maintenance.
Yeah.
Just be, and actually sometimes a little bit of weight gain, like,
Absolutely.
which is totally fine.
A weight loss journey, guys, will never, ever, ever look like this. It will be like this, up, down. And it's when someone goes up on this upscale that they're kind of freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
That having a coach to step in and say, well, this is actually up a little bit because we're in week 4 of your cycle. You're holding fluid. You were out last night. You probably had a salty meal.
Yeah.
Like, just continue what you're doing and it'll come down, but it will go down like this. And it might go up a little bit and come down depending on what's happening.
Yeah.
That's part of living.
And it's
Christmas, holidays, evenings out, Easter, all of these things. Weight gain is a normal part of our life.
And for women in,
you know,
in a month.
Exactly. A normal part of our day, our weight fluctuates so much. And it's, you know, we give so much like power to that number on the scales, I think sometimes, when it's kind of like, it's just a number.
Yeah. I don't weigh myself. That's not frequently, like maybe every couple of months, just to be like, where am I at now?
Yeah.
And I only ever step on the scales if I feel like the number, whether up or down, is not going to impact my mental health.
Yeah.
So if
it can sometimes.
So if I feel in that headspace, I just won't step on it.
No,
like, what's
exactly,
the point?
exactly.
And I did say to you last year, it was really interesting because I've been training and working really hard and watching everything that I was doing and eating. And then I went away for the summer and I continued working out, but I was in Kerry and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna relax a little bit. Like I'm not gonna be tracking everything I eat. No. And I lost like a stone in that like 5 weeks, because I think we discussed how I was still working out consistently. I was being really consistent. I was walking loads. I was sleeping and resting. And I think at that point my body just needed a bit of like rest.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's not always about like being really intense.
No.
Actually, not at all.
Yeah,
like,
it isn't. It isn't.
Nice, steady,
especially
consistent.
Starting out. Yeah. Well, I think we've covered so much
hope
there.
so.
I hope everybody gets so much value from this conversation.
So
You're so good to share your story and be so open and honest with it as well, because it's not easy, you know, to kind of be so vulnerable and in that space. But I think this is going to be an incredibly empowering conversation for a lot of people, and I think it's going to really help give permission to a lot of women to take the time for them, whatever that might involve doing, and if that is health and fitness and, you know, getting stronger and losing weight or fueling their bodies better, you know, increasing their energy levels and kind of just wholeheartedly living their life to its full potential. That would just be amazing. Yeah, you're a superstar.
No, you are too.